In Romania, the bitter fighting of the past few days is dying down.
I first went to Romania in 1994, but Christine and I saw the programmes after the regime fell, Ceausescu, and it was all over the television screens and the orphanages and the children, and Christine was desperate to help then. She wanted to adopt a child, but we were a big family and we couldn't do that. I never thought much about it after that, but in 1993 I had to finish work as a builder. And it was then that the opportunity came for me to go as a relief driver to Romania with a church in Southport. And so I took the opportunity and went. I was amazed at the sights that I saw, abject poverty. This country had just come out of a regime that had held them under communism for many, many years. And the people were deprived. The hospitals were deprived, the orphanages lacked colour, the children were poor, in poor conditions. And as I went round to the schools, we did some hospitals, and I knew as we were coming back home, as we were coming back through Germany, I remember thinking, you know, these are not going to ask me to go back again. This is a one-off thing. And so as I drove back, I thought, I really want to go back and carry on this work and carry on making a difference with the people that I'd met, the villages I'd seen. I did make one contact with Pastor Ionel Husachuk, and so I wrote to him in December in 95, and we corresponded and started our correspondence and said that I wanted to go again. And so we started. I had to find a vehicle. That took a lot of doing, and a friend came up with one on the doorstep, and it was a real beat up old vehicle, but it's what we could afford at the time. And so the adventure started.
Comes back with this big old beast of a van, which would certainly have not looked amiss in Romania. It was such a state and continued to be a problem every single time he went. Just seemed to get into worse and worse condition. It was a real worry, knowing he was out there in all sorts of weather, and not just the weather, there was other things that were up against him, and we were at home trying to manage, but worrying at the same time.
We did the vehicle up. We started collecting aid locally, we put adverts in the paper, and it grew from there. And so we started taking the lorry across. Well, it was an old Mercedes van, 508 diesel van, and nothing worked on it. The windows wouldn't wind up, there was no front seat in. The springs had all been cut at the back, and so the weight ratios weren't right. It went through its MOT, but it only just got through. We had to keep repairing different things, but anyway, we set off and we started that long journey, 2,000 miles approximately, and it was an adventure. And we got there, we went through the terrain, the vehicle got battered, and it started. We started the work there, and many years later, after a while, we decided that we wanted to do a long-term work. We show the conditions of the houses that they're living in. You can't imagine what it's like. I really can't explain to you what it's like, but these people, all this family here, are living in this terrible condition. Please. Flies everywhere. This yellow house was cleaned out by these gypsy people to live in, and the conditions were absolutely awful. A whole family of about 10 lived in this house here, and all their belongings were stacked up in this room here, and the smell was horrendous. I think in the other room there was animals in the same house. Everything was broken in, broken down, and it's amazing that it's a dirt floor, solid dirt floor, and I don't know how they could keep clean through this, but these were the conditions we've found all the time wherever we went. And if you look at this family here, it just looks like a Victorian family. Some of the old Victorian pictures you see, and we took a lot of aid to this family, and to get the kids in clothes and shoes, and to take food to them as well. It's grown. We went from 1 van to 2 vans, and I remember sticking out in my mind is an incident that happened a few years back when we had an SOS from the hospital in Salaj, and it was a request for a shunt. There was a little baby, 6 months old, who'd got hydrocephalus, and nowhere in the surrounding hospitals had they got this equipment to do the operation on the baby. So with an appeal put out here, we on the last minute actually before we went, we got a shunt off the hospital, and all staffs were very good and donated this shunt, and we found out that it was £480 plus the VAT. Amazing. So we took this shunt over to the hospital, but what we found out that the baby had been abandoned, and she was abandoned in the abandoned side of the hospital. So we took the shunt over, and we learned later, sometime later, that it had been successful. The operation was successful and the child was saved, and after a few trips we went back and found the baby. It had grown obviously a bit more, and she was up for adoption.
And after getting help from England,
a fost operat
he was operated
și total schimbat. Cei
and totally
care
changed.
au văzut atunci imaginea și îl văd cum arată acum,
You saw them pictures
de necrezut.
and you see how he looked.
And that was a highlight for me. That was a great joy to my heart to see that this child had been saved through the work that we do, through the simple work to taking the old van across, and donations and help from others. We saved a child's life. She'd probably be about 12 now, but I've lost contact, and I just know that she's got her life back, and maybe she looks back in time and will say, yeah, some people brought some medical equipment over and saved my life. It's just amazing to be finding all kinds of conditions in Romania, and particularly coming across this crippled chap who was left for 45 years on a bed with severe arthritis. What he had on the back was sticks with various things on, like a spoon and a fork and a thing that he turned his pages with on his book that he was reading. And he was left like this most of the time. He should have been in a hospital, he should have been having physiotherapy, he should have been looked after. But sadly Romania doesn't do that. And we still find it today, many people in this condition.
When you try your best but you don't succeed, when you get what you want but not what you need, when you feel so tired but you can't sleep, stuck in rivers, and the tears come streaming down your face, when you lose something you
to
can't
take
replace.
hope and to take humanitarian love and aid, but just making a difference wherever we went and wherever we are going. We are making those differences.
I sit and wait. Does an angel contemplate my fate?
Look at this girl, so happy. Now, I want to say thank you to all the people, the children from Chidel school. God bless for all you do for these poor people. God bless.
Let their wings unfold. So when I'm lying in my bed, thoughts running through my head, and I feel that love is dead, I'm loving angels instead. And through